Welcome to Youth Tech Apprenticeship, a modern work-based learning method gaining traction in popularity around the United States. This is a recording of a previous webinar event. To enable closed captioning, select the CC button at the bottom of the screen. To request a copy of the slides or transcript of this webinar, please send an email to apprenticeship@appteon.com. Youth Tech Apprenticeship has been growing in high schools around the country. And today we'd like to give you a big picture overview of apprenticeship and youth apprenticeship from a subject matter expert at ICF, and also showcase an individual program in Virginia that has a spectacular youth apprenticeship program. Next. First, let me tell you a little bit about Appteon. Next. Appteon is an award-winning professional services company, an IT company that delivers both technical and workforce solutions for the federal government and private industry. We also serve as a U.S. Department of Labor registered apprenticeship intermediary, an integral new role that accelerates the growth of apprenticeship. So Appteon partners with employers throughout the country to help start or expand registered apprenticeship programs in IT occupations. We serve as a conduit between employers, high school CTE teachers, other educators, the public workforce system, and state apprenticeship agency to really help expand these programs. And we help provide resources and connections to increase equity, diversity, equity, and inclusivity in registered apprenticeship programs. Next, please. We are hiring, especially if you're in high school and want an apprenticeship, was the headline of a Business Week economics article on August 3rd, 2022 that described the benefits of hiring and training employees at a much earlier stage than businesses generally have begun to think about hiring employees. As you know, youth apprenticeship is gaining traction. One of the reasons is this high-quality work-based learning strategy reflects the spirit of the Perkins Act. For our CTE administrators on the call today, they understand that this is a primary federal funding source for CTE programs. It's the Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century Act for those non-CET folks who might like to learn more about it. So our focus today is really on high school youth apprenticeship in IT and cybersecurity occupations. We have assembled a panel of experts for this topic today. I'm delighted to introduce these panelists. First is Bridget Brown. Bridget Brown is a subject matter expert who serves as ICF's Director of Workforce Innovations. She has been in youth apprenticeship for quite some time, is our go-to resource for expertise in that area. Bridget has over 30 years experience in workforce development, specializing in work-based learning, apprenticeships, and ensuring equity and access for underserved populations. Prior to ICF, Bridget was the executive director of the National Association of Workforce Development Professionals. She served as the National Skills Standard Board's Director of Program Development at the U.S. Department of Labor and was the co-director of the Manufacturing Skills Standards Council. I'm pleased to have Bridget. Next, we have Danielle Meyer. She's the CTE Workforce Development Coordinator for Prince William County Public Schools in Virginia, and also Vice President of the Virginia Association of Career and Technical Education Administrators. And she leads the Virginia Work-Based Learning Collaboration. Danielle has been an active leader in the CTE field. In addition to CTE, she has been a technology and engineering education teacher, public relations liaison, and a volunteer liaison. She holds a postmaster certificate and master's degree from the State University of New York College at Oswego. So Danielle will be sharing with us today the steps and procedures from a school standpoint of how these high school students who are looking for work-based learning experiences can go about getting an experience that is a registered apprenticeship. Quiana Gainey is the CEO of SecureTech 360. Quiana is a 20-year IT and cybersecurity industry veteran with extensive experience in information assurance, cybersecurity, and R&D for government at all levels. She has served as CEO for SecureTech 360 since its inception in 2010. She founded MySecureKid, which is the youth apprenticeship program for Secure Tech 360, in 2018. This is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to diversity and inclusion in the field of cybersecurity and IT. Quiana earned an MBA and a BS in Information Technology Management and Cybersecurity. We're delighted that Quiana is willing to share her expertise for her company and especially for her youth apprenticeship program. Chantel Green serves as MySecureKid's director and youth coordinator. She's also a digital media specialist. Chantel has been with MySecureKid for 6 years and has an inspiring personal story that she may choose to share about her journey. Chantel completed an apprenticeship herself and is also working toward a college degree. She's extremely proud of her students in the MySecureKid's youth apprenticeship program. And she has agreed to bring one of her students onto the webinar today. And we all are looking forward to that. Crystal Thrower is a registered apprenticeship high school work-based learning specialist and registered apprenticeship consultant in Virginia State Apprenticeship Agency. Virginia State Apprenticeship Consultants, as well as all apprenticeship consultants throughout the country in ATR roles, serve their apprenticeship agency in connecting employers with the processes and the forms they need to register their program, and they also facilitate the regulation of individual apprentices who are registering. So they regulate the programs and they facilitate all the registration for programs in Virginia or whatever state they're located in. Crystal has been consulting with employers, CTE professionals, and apprenticeship stakeholders for 17 years with Virginia's Department of Labor and Industry that serves as our state apprenticeship agency. She holds 2 master's degrees. So with that background, Bridget, would you kick us off and give us an overview of youth apprenticeship in these tech occupations?
I would be delighted. And maybe we go to the next slide. And I'm really pleased to be here today. ICF is at the forefront of both IT modernization and supporting registered apprenticeships. And I have the pleasure of serving as a project manager for the U.S. Department of Labor funded Cyber Youth Apprenticeship Intermediary, where our goal is to expand and support 900 IT and cybersecurity apprenticeships for youth ages 16 to 21. We want to go to the next slide. I think you were probably wondering what all of those individuals had in common. They were all actually registered apprentices in varying different occupations. And I think as we go through today, we're going to learn that there are so many different types of occupations that are apprenticeable, whether you're a hairdresser like John Frieda, or you were in the theater, or whoever thought you would have Michael Caine and Ozzy Osbourne having something in common? They were both plumbing apprentices. And too often, we really think of apprenticeship as only the skilled trades. But today, we're seeing them in financial services, we're seeing them in cybersecurity, in healthcare, and a variety of other occupations that really expand opportunities for young people. Next slide for me, please. Whether you're working with an employer, a parent, a student, it's really not unusual to hear the question about the return on investment. Why would I spend time and energy doing something? What's really going to be the benefit at the end of it? And as you can see on the screen, there are some comparisons of different type of work-based learning opportunities, whether it's cooperative education, an internship, or a registered apprenticeship. Not surprisingly, we can see that the highest return on investment is that gold standard, that registered apprenticeship. It may be more intensive than the other type of work-based learning opportunities, but the outcomes and the impacts are also stronger. Next slide, please. So, what can an apprenticeship do for a young person? It gives them that context. It's a career exploration opportunity, but it also gives them that real world application that allows them to tie in what they're learning in the classroom through their career and technical education courses or through their traditional K-12 courses and really apply that to the context of the real world. We know that particularly in CTE programs, one of the areas that's focused on are the employability skills, whether we call them employability, essential skills, soft skills, whatever your term is. This is what we hear employers saying again and again that they need: communication, interpersonal skills, time management. These type of core and transferable skills go across all different occupations, and they are strengthened through registered apprenticeship. Registered apprenticeships also provide an opportunity for an employer to set aside any type of preconceived notions that they might have about the apprentice because they're able to see that individual, in our case, youth, actually doing the job, succeeding. And sometimes that really helps eliminate some unconscious bias that are always in the back of people's head because, well, we're human. But once you see a young person really can code, really can do penetration testing, really can affect, do the job that you're hiring them to do, a lot of those biases go away. And it is wonderful to see employers embrace the youth as part of their regular workforce. Young people bring in different perspectives, different experiences, and as we're moving more towards multi generational workplaces, the contributions that they can make are immediate and long lasting as well. And of course, many young people also need to earn, whether they are saving for a post secondary degree, paying for their car insurance, whatever their reason is, this gives them the opportunity to work in an area that they're actually interested in an area that ties back to the classes that they're taking at their high school. So it really ties it neatly and answers that age old question: why do I have to learn this? And we've
Mhm.
all either heard it or we've said it. If we can go to the next slide. Let's just quickly go over what are the components of a registered apprenticeship. In addition to a diversity, inclusion, equity, and access component, and also making sure that there's a health and safety component, we want young people to be safe in whatever environment they are. Registered apprenticeships start with a job, that work-based learning component. There is also that classroom component that is really critical so that they have both the theoretical knowledge, but also the practical knowledge. And these things are tied together, which strengthen that. It comes with mentoring. Many young people, some adults as well, but definitely young people are not necessarily understanding on day one what is expected of them first day on the job. So they are actually given mentors. So that is an incredibly powerful tool. That mentor will help them learn both the written and the unwritten rules. And they'll also coach that young person as they're really perfecting their on the job skills as well. And at the end of a registered apprenticeship program, that young person walks away with a national credential. This is incredibly important, whether that young person is going to immediately enter the workforce after high school or go on to a post secondary education or both. That national credential is going to be valid whether you live in the Commonwealth of Virginia, across the border in Maryland, or you end up wanting to move anywhere else in the United States. Next slide. Not surprisingly, the federal government and many state governments have really expanded their focus and funding on these apprenticeship programs. And you can see on the screen that we're up to about 800,000 apprentices being registered annually. The great thing about registered apprentices from the employer perspective is that there is a 93% employment retention rate. That means when the individual technically ends their apprenticeship programs, and apprenticeship programs can be anywhere from 1 year to 5 years or more, depending on how complex the occupation is. Most are that 1 year category there. But that means that 93% of them stay with that same employer. That employer made an investment in them. That employer gave them a mentor to allow them to grow and to really hone their skills, and they're more loyal to that employer now. The average starting salary across all apprenticeable occupations is about $77,000. That is not to be sniffed at. That is a great starting salary. If we can go to the next slide. And of course, when we're looking at youth apprenticeships, which are similar to adult apprenticeships but not identical to them, we're also seeing this uptick in youth apprenticeships. And that is because, again, we're connecting what they're learning in the classroom with what they will be doing. When they're able to do that in a high school environment, that makes their post-high school decisions a little bit clearer. I think one of the biggest misunderstanding about youth apprenticeships is that they're either going to go into an apprenticeship or they're going to go on to post-secondary education. And that's just not the case. It's not an either or. It can be a yes and. There are multiple on and off ramps for the young people. And there are many registered apprenticeship programs that incorporate in it academic credits at a community college or at a university so that the young person can earn their degree as they're moving forward. So youth apprenticeships are a great way to expose young people to career, to help them really focus while they're in high school, while they're sitting in classroom. They're now focused and understanding better what they're getting out of it, how they're going to use it, and potentially what they want to do with it in a future. So it's a great way also to increase graduation rates as well. Next slide.
So let's talk a little bit with our panelists today. Bridget's given us a good overview of why youth apprenticeship can be extremely important for these individuals and actually put foundation toward the rest of their career. So how does this work? How can it happen in high school? Danielle Meyer, our CTE representative on the panel today, is going to talk with us about how registered apprenticeship fits into a work-based learning profile. In Virginia, the Department of Education has a high-quality work-based learning guide that has 12 different types of work-based learning, from job shadowing, which is just simply on a job observing someone doing the job, all the way to registered apprenticeship, which is the 12th step, more structured and more value, if you want to say, for a career, is registered apprenticeship. So Danielle is going to talk with us about, from the CTE perspective, how registered apprenticeship programs, how CTE influences the curriculum, what they need to do in contacting employers, some of the issues that are challenging for all work-based learning, which is employer engagement. But she'll be able to kick off this session from the CTE perspective, followed by Quiana Gainey, who's going to talk with us as the employer and youth apprenticeship sponsor, Chantel, and also her youth apprentice, and then also Crystal Thrower. So Danielle, it's you next.
So in general, career and technical education, we have 4 pillars. We're composed of that competency-based instruction, career and technical student organizations, industry-based credentials, and work-based learning. So what is that work-based learning component? Work-based learning is comprised of school-coordinated workplace experiences that are related to a student's career goals and or interests, connected to a course, and performed in partnership with local businesses and organizations. Those work-based learning experiences enable students to apply classroom instruction in a real-world business or service-oriented work environment. As Debbie mentioned, the VDOE does recognize 12 work-based learning experiences. And to name a few, we have externship, job shadowing, internship, youth registered, and registered apprenticeships, which are performed in partnership with the Department of Labor and Industry. Each of those experiences, similar to what Bridget mentioned, vary in terms of the number of minimum hours required, whether the experience is paid or unpaid, that required documentation that follows, and if the experience could count for high school credit. So for instance, if we're taking a look at an internship, that minimum number of hours might be 60. There's that paid option, a training plan and training agreement are required. In addition to, there is that credit option for students. In addition, work-based learning, it's successful when there are mutually beneficial partnerships with the school division, business and industry representatives. In Prince William County, we are currently seeking business community members to become formal CTE work-based learning business partners. We start by connecting with local community members in the form of a brief virtual meeting to discuss how we might be able to form a partnership. We send the contact a website link to complete a brief business partner interest form. This shares basic business information, such as potential ways the business could partner with us through whether it's an internship or an apprenticeship. Next, we're going to perform a site visit to the business address where a student would report to ensure the business is safe, is a safe working environment for our students. We also perform a background check on the business using the Virginia State Police online sex offender and crimes against minors registry. And then finally, we will complete a formal business partner agreement between the business and school division and have that signed on file. After all of those steps are completed, business partners are invited to be able to post opportunities for our students. And so working with MySecureKids, we were able to get those opportunities posted within our Job Ready online platform for our students.
Things have changed a lot when I was a high school co-op student. I can tell you that. that was a few decades ago, and the process has changed quite a bit. So if we would be able to have Quiana, I think it would be great now if you could talk a little bit about how you got into this in the first place. You have such a great story, but for apprenticeship, the employer is at the heart of it, as well as the training, but particularly the employer. And I think that for this webinar, that everyone would really like to hear about your background and interests, and just how you got your company and your apprenticeship program started.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Debbie. So my background actually started, I was on active duty for several years, and then I transitioned out, and I started working as a consultant. And then fast forward, I started a for-profit business called SecureTech 360 that did similar work to the IT and cyber consulting that I was doing professionally. And then fast forward a couple of years later, started a nonprofit called MySecureKid, which is really primarily dedicated to helping underserved populations be able to get access to training programs, work-based learning programs, apprenticeship internships, to help them understand that they can also have a career in cyber and IT. I wanted the profession to be looked at very similar to being like a doctor or a lawyer. And then for on my for-profit side, I use that same training model to be able to actually train my own workforce. And this has been a great experience for myself, and even for some of the employees that work for me that's come through those channels. They've been able to get, one, exposure to something that they probably didn't even think that was possible. Two, they were able to start career fields that wasn't necessarily something that was readily accessible to them. And now even, I believe in, like, we have the whole 360 model that once you serve on the for-profit side, you also spend time on the nonprofit side to almost kind of pay it forward. So not only are we mentors in the space, we're training the trainers in the space, but it's almost kind of our personal crusade to be able to show that the apprenticeship model, work-based learning models do work. outside of just formal education channels that you normally see in IT and cybersecurity career fields. So I kind of gave you like my 30-second,
It's
15-year
fabulous.
journey.
That is fabulous. It is so impressive on so many fronts. You know, the whole give back now is such an important element for our younger generation. I'll say it is extremely important, and that you have
Yes.
pulled that in. And also, one of our partner sponsors is always saying that he was in the IT field, and he is a black man, and he said he never saw people who looked like him in the field. He never saw them, and so it was the driving force for him to start his program. And it seems like that's a very important very important driver for you for starting it. So what would be your message to employers about the value in training your own workforce?
I would say it's invaluable because it's such a priceless resource to be able to be a part of someone's journey and to see how it actually has transformed like actual lives of families. I mean, we've had so many success stories where we've had folks that were either working retail jobs, and we've had some either teachers or even Danielle, she worked for Child Protective Services, that really were going down one route and then just, you know, taking the first step to be able to have a program that would able to accept them with someone that had, you know, zero skills, or, you know, even if you had a little bit, maybe you were a novice and it was something that you did, maybe you were the person who did the IT in your house, but, you know, you never thought that it could be a career for you or whatever. It has definitely, you will definitely see life-changing results. Even during COVID, a lot of our moms that, you know, had to make a decision, either I'll stay home and, you know, work with my kids in school, or had to almost quit my job. And having a remote capability or being able to have that technology job was one of the key factors to keep them working. And you almost kind of build like a family almost atmosphere, because you're working together to make sure that their lives are, you know, are sustainable. And then your company also, you know, benefits the rewards from that as well. So I would just say it's been all positives. And I would definitely say it may seem as though it may be an extra thing to do, especially as a small business owner. You think it's this extra thing you have to do. Now I have to train, now I have to do, and I'm saying it's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
And would you say that the quality of hiring someone who's come through an apprenticeship program in IT cyber is equal to hiring a new college graduate?
So yes and no. So you know, you have your pros and your cons, but what we like to do is pair the ones that maybe have a formal education with the ones that are just coming into the marketplace, because sometimes you have to learn like soft skills, or just learn how to try to transition from being like, you know, working a regular retail job versus having some formal education and other things that you had, like maybe had an internship or apprenticeship while you were in school. And so you kind of have a learning curve, but then on the other side, I've had folks that came right from college that also didn't have the real world experience of some people that were probably, yeah. So it just kind of depends on the individual. But I think both tracks work. And then also, I'm really big on diversity. So it brings more of a diverse workforce to your organization. And you only can win when you have diversity, when you have all different type of minds, different backgrounds that can all pull together. I mean, we've been able to even produce some great technology for our clients on the for-profit side. And then we've been able to, you know, scale our own small business using both models. So it's a win-win. Diversity always wins.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And you really answered the next question I was going to ask you about, you know, how important is it for an employer to have a diverse workforce? And you mentioned that. And I think also, in addition to traditional diversity as we would think of it, having apprentices who have life experience, job experience, and maybe not a degree yet, and having recent college graduates who have a college degree but maybe no experience, having those two together, it is a mutual relationship. It is not it's not necessarily the mentor that somebody might think of. It is a mutual learning relationship, it seems, in your organization, and that creates another level of diversity. So what is your message to employers about their intentionality, I guess I'll say, in increasing diversity to raise equity in their own workforces?
I mean, I would say, the time is now. I know with even the current economy, everything is so expensive. And we're looking for other ways to do business and to be able to, get quality, over quantity sometimes. And, you're trying to balance the two. And so I would say take a chance. It has definitely worked for our business model. We were very small. And so our margins for some of our profits were very, very, very small, very minimal. And so the apprenticeship model and even some of our work-based learning models helped with some of those margins to be able to scale. And then as we were able to produce more, we were able to go after more contracts, and we were able to have more people that fill those contracts. And then we were able to give raises and bonuses, and we were able to kind of grow organically together. So it has definitely helped us tremendously. So I would say, look at your bottom line, look at where you're trying to go. And if you want to do, like I believe in doing tech for good, you want to do tech for good, and then you want to also, make your contribution and help change the lives of so many people that you work for or work with you. I think it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Awesome. Chantel, I want to talk with you for a second because you have a story and it's your decision on how much you'd like to share. But the first time that Bridget brought me into this family, the first time that Bridget introduced me to Chantel, I was blown away at your story, being an apprentice yourself, and now directing this youth apprenticeship program. It's your dream job, I think you said. You're in school now. Would you be willing to share a little bit of your personal experience and as an apprentice, some of your struggles, and now your absolute motivation to your students and to anyone who's listening to this webinar?
Thank you, Debbie, for the wonderful introduction. So hello, everyone. My name is Chantel Green, and I currently work for MySecureKid as a youth director for the MySecureKid Apprenticeship Program. So a little bit about myself. I've been working with SecureTech 360 for about 6 years. This is our nonprofit organization, and I joined the SecureTech 360 apprenticeship cybersecurity program in DC. And the apprenticeship program, I joined that through a provider like CTE and Appteon and ICF. And my position was IT help desk and data center engineer. So during my duration throughout the program, I gained knowledge, mentorship, on-the-job training, and so much more. After the apprenticeship, I graduated that program and continued to obtain numerous of certifications, and then continuing to pursue my computer science and technology degree. Since I know Quiana Gainey, she has been an advocate for education, and by her beautiful contributions from her company, I have been offered numerous of scholarships. I have been offered numerous scholarships from my school and other schools and other programs, although juggling being a full-time mom to my son, which is disabled, and finishing school and pursuing my career. I have many challenges that I have overcame the program, but my mindset and my advocates, my peers, the mentors that took me through the journey basically held my hand and took me every step of the way so I can pursue my dream job, like Debbie said. And during the program, SecureSec 360 exposed me to not just your average IT help desk job. It provided me with so many other different fields that I didn't know that was even out there. So, and I also developed, like Quiana said, a flexible schedule. So I'm able to work various hours, and even the remote process is definitely key to pivoting when COVID happening. It definitely gave me insight of, being flexible and just having my forefront and then ready for any opportunity that I needed to do. So I was offered to work at the client site for SecureSec 360 for about 5 years before COVID hit. And while pivoting, Quiana, she switched her gears to the youth and the young adults. And she asked me to work alongside with her to developing MySecureKid programs, internships, any other programs you could think about for youths and adults, and summer camps, gardens, anything that you could name. I've gained so much knowledge and leadership from working with Quiana Gainey. I believe in the mission and the work we're doing with MySecureKid and being an advocate to others, just like Quiana has been to me. So I do have one of my apprentices on the call, and I'll let him share his experience about being in our apprenticeship program currently running, and I'll let him present.
Hello all. Before I deliver my speech, I would like to wish you all the best wishes. And I also want to thank you a lot for having me a chance to share my background on my journey in apprenticeship program. I'm Shafi Aftali, and I'm a school student. I'm right now junior. Before I took this program, youth apprenticeship program, MySecureKid, I was doing like for half 2 years coding and doing web developments and all of them. And fortunately, I found out this program, which my teacher, he recommended to me, and we got the interview, and hopefully I could join with MySecureKid organization. And I had a lot of experience that I gained. I developed a lot of my skills, and it was very great. I gained a lot of certification from Cisco, such as Networking Academy, that we can explain and like this, how to be being safe online and protect ourselves and the networking. So it's everything. And then we went to through IC Square and all of them. And always I offer this one to all my friends, and everyone asked me, hey Shafi, how you gain all these skills? I told them I got an internship from your MySecureKid, and we gave to all of them. Also, we also went to a very good skill set, how to prepare for jobs and how to be prepared, resume preparation, everything, and how to participate in a meeting, in a Zoom link, and all of them. We were going through this MySecureKid apprenticeship, and I'm very proud that I'm one of member of this apprenticeship. And thank you for all listening to my words. I hope you all have liked my speech. Thank you.
You did a beautiful job. Thank you so much. We need to
welcome.
see these young professionals, which you are a young professional now, and you're going to have a certificate of completion. You're going to have a Journey Worker certification that will stay with you for the rest of your life. And you'll be able to pull it up for the rest of your life on a registry service on apprenticeship.gov and have any of your future employers verify that. So congratulations. I really want all the folks on the call to see that the hard work that it might feel like to have a wonderful placement, let's say a good youth apprenticeship, and the futures that are being changed. It is worth it. It is worth it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I was going to also share one thing. I had an appointment with Harvard University that I'm going to that like a merit scholarship for Harvard University, and asked me about my background when I mentioned this program and all of them, and they were very proud, and they said it's really good background for you that have in field of computer science and being in a cybersecurity field, and it's great, and I'm very glad that I'm one of member in being participating in apprenticeship. Thank you.
Well, let me tell you, with my lack of technical skills, we got at least this part of this webinar taped, and this is worth it because we just recruited at Howard University last week. We just recruited there. We had 2 apprentices talk with on a session to be able to share their apprenticeship experiences, and I'm delighted to see that Harvard University also values this. So you're giving me goosebumps right now. I appreciate it. For all the advocates of youth and all the advocates of apprenticeship, this is icing on the cake. Thank you very much. Chantel, I have one more question for you.
Yes.
So what would be your message to the young student, someone maybe from a very underserved background, let's say, that might be one of the students in your summer camps who come in your STEAM program? What is your message to them about pursuing occupations that they have never seen, but they've heard about, and know that they're big time jobs like cybersecurity and in IT, IT project manager? What would you tell them about pursuing their dream careers through apprenticeship?
I would start by saying, go after it. If you want that dream job, make that plan, go after it. I tell my students all the time that this career choice is about you. At the end of the day, we can guide you. We can tell you this is where we want to lead you, but this is your future. So I would say have that mindset to go out, do your homework of the job, do the homework of the certifications, the steps you need to do. Like Shafti said, he's already on his way talking to Harvard. So we know he has his foot in the door. Yeah. And just being that eager to want this, you have to want this for yourself. We have a lot of support, a lot of mentors, and being from an underserved background, I would say the mentorship was key for me. Just having that person to ask questions, to take me to those client sites, to get my hands on those actual equipment and walk me through that process and working in the environment, changing my environment from just a normal training section to a session to actually getting inside in the environment. And just being with the students. I know a funny thing I always say is that when we first started the program, I literally was like, I'm going to ask all the questions. I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to do everything in my power to be in this program. And when Quiana came, that was it. I was signing up. I was at the dotted line. I was like, they're never letting me go. So I would just say, just be eager. This your career, this your future. And while you're young, I would say, do it now. It's never a thing of too much experience. And with cybersecurity and IT, we just had our recent session. We were telling the kids that don't just stop at one career. You could choose as many as you want to. So that's what I would say to, apprentice that's getting into the program. And I would say start with apprenticeship because that is the key to actually being close to these work environments.
Well, and I do want to just make sure that everybody knows that we're not as polished as Shafi was. He is a high school student. He is not a college student yet. He's a high school student. Most impressive. So let's for a second, let's pull up. Let's go down the process line again. So Crystal, would you come on and let the audience know in Virginia just how easy it really is, or how difficult it is? Tell us the process.
Not difficult. It's not difficult. Quiana, let's see, she shook her head. We had a handful of meetings, and she's doing something different than most people. So yes, Sharif is, he's one of my babies. I call them all my babies. He's probably never seen me. But I'm super excited because he's one of my youth apprentices. He's at one of Danielle's students in CTE at in high school in Prince William County Schools. So we're super excited that he was able to be here today, because he's the full circle package of what we're doing here in Virginia, where we're working with a company where it only takes 4 documents to get the company registered to do our program. Then we work with the school to have a education and training agreement done where the student, the parent, the school, student, parent, school, and the employer actually sign to say that they understand that the student will be working part-time and gaining their work-based learning credits and things like that, working with that particular company. But they just sign up with us. They tell us what program they want to use. We have a minimum standards. We're in other states or in districts, because I'm a resident of District of Columbia. We are not a state, so I want to be clear when I say that. But Maryland and DC and North Carolina have different avenues that way they do things. The Commonwealth of Virginia has all the rules already written out for you. So whomever you come into contact with in our department, we review that with you. We help you build out a work process. Sometimes we have something written that you can actually kind of make it your own. We have samples that we provide for you. ICF might have that, Appteon may have that also. And we help you get through the process. Quiana happened to post online and find the students and things like that. Word of mouth is what got her high school students. When I introduced her to other, or I will say high schools in the area, Prince William students are the one that connected with her, not the grown-ups. So please understand.
Important. I really want people to hear you, because people are thinking this is sometimes people think, oh, as a work-based learning coordinator or CTE person, it has to be, it has to be step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and create the program and then send the students. Oh no, this one started with these wonderful students.
Right. The high school students connected with her, and we were building the program on our end. Chantel and Quiana and I were building the program along with our related instruction specialist, Callie, because what MySecureKid has decided to do, which every company does not have to do this, because some things are taught in the school that count as related technical instruction for apprentices. But she went the extra mile with the high school students, and they're teaching CompTIA, Security Plus, A Plus, and Network Plus to the students themselves. So they decided to do that. So they wrote out their curriculum, and with the CompTIA curriculum that they wanted us to approve. Any company that wants to do that, they can do that or not do that. The students in Virginia school systems actually receive many classes that get them to certification without you actually paying for it. When a lot of times you saw how well he speaks, he comes to work, he does everything he's supposed to do. The only thing that we ask of you is you have a mentor-mentee relationship with that student. We ask you to pay them in minimum wage or above to make it so they can work with you, but you can actually put them on your projects. And I know that they've done that at MySecureKid. Once they've gotten the students started, they've actually put them on projects, and they're a employee of your company and they're working for you. So while you're paying them minimum wage, which is $12 an hour in Virginia, you can keep making the money that you make from those projects that you're building for folks. So don't ever think, and what you're pouring into them helps them excel in what they're doing for you as a business. So you're growing your own employee as you're building this out. So whether your company is in Virginia or Maryland, District of Columbia, I don't know who all signed up to be here today, but this is something that you can do right in your own backyard. We just make it super easy for people in Virginia. With the minimum standards, we have we ask for the graduated pay scale, and usually any IT program is generally a one-year program, unless the company decides to make it longer. So you would give them the base rate and one raise, and it could be very minimal. I try not to tell people what to do, but I have some companies that do a couple of dollars, some do $1, some do 50 cents. It's totally up to them. It's what you can afford to have. And oops, here we go, the ghost land. I'm sorry, y'all. But this is technology, automated lights, right? So the one thing that I remind people of is that as you grow these students, they're like Chantel, she connected with Quiana, and that's what mattered. We have a lot of youth apprentices that are not walking away from their employment. They're going back, they're full-time, and that's across the state. We actually have 40 counties where students are working, not just in IT, but across the gamut in different roles that, and we have 25 other counties that are signing on and connecting with the students in the role that Danielle has, or companies that have heard our team speak this year on building that out. We have school systems that have set up things. Prince William is doing one, and we have others. So it is a nice resource to have. And it's free. Our services are free. The classes are free, and that's it. I heard a wrap up. Thanks.
Thank you, Crystal. So while we're going to be pulling up the resources, and while that is coming up, I would like the panelists to just answer some questions. Let's say that anybody who controls the CTE system, or anybody who controls the apprenticeship system, what suggestions do you have for improvement to remove whatever barriers that there are to having more youth apprenticeship programs? Are there system barriers, let's say within the CTE system itself? Danielle, would you say that there could be any efficiencies within that part of the system?
Honestly, it's coming down to human power, to getting to everything. There are just so many steps involved in the process in terms of being able to bring on board enough employers for all of the students that we have. And we're just trying to do the best we can to move through the process for everyone. But it's just coming down to that time. At least that's what I'm seeing from my side. In
getting enough employers to the table. Yes. I can see that. Crystal, what do you see as some things that we could do, as all of us wanting to advocate for these young men and women who are coming through these programs? What can we do to help the system in all aspects, education and apprenticeship, employment, everywhere? What can we do to help remove some of those barriers to entry?
On the school side, I would say be open to connecting with the folks in your community. Share what the golden nuggets programs that you have with the community. People don't know what they don't know. If they don't have a high school student at their house. They don't know what is being taught in the school community. That sharing with networking with people, the businesses in the community. So the chambers being there and making those connections is really important.
Bridget, if you want to just kind of close us out and mention your what data could be expected, then we'll be happy to share all of that within just a few days, as well as a recording.
Absolutely, and thank you. So there's some really great citations on this particular page, and there's some other ones that we can share in addition to Andy's as well. We have resources on our website. I have a couple of them listed here. The Cybersecurity Career Guide is one of them, and that will help show different career paths, because many young people and their parents don't know what they don't know. You've heard that before. So this will show teachers and guidance counselors and parents and students what some of the pathways are and what the requirements are. For those of you who deal with different type of young people, you're showing that our website here. If you click on the resource library up in the right-hand corner, we have resources listed here. I think our latest one had to do with when you're working with young people who are neurodivergent. And what specific elements should you be thinking about building into your registered apprenticeship? And I put this in the chat feature. There are a lot of things that call themselves an apprenticeship. That doesn't mean that they're a registered apprenticeship or that they meet quality standards. Doesn't mean that they're bad, don't get me wrong. But when you're going through either Crystal's office or going directly to the U.S. Department of Labor to get registered, there are more quality standards and protections that are built in there as well. There are a lot of statistics that are out there that are showing the effectiveness of registered apprenticeship in terms of return on investment, but also the career pathways of young people. Remember, young people are not many adults.
Right.
They have their own specialized needs and support services that need to be in place to help them be successful. But when we are looking at the labor market demand for IT and particularly cybersecurity, it's a little scary out there. At any moment of time, we are looking at 500,000 unfilled positions. And we've got to get more young people interested in the field and more diverse young people. And I think Quiana mentioned this as well. And diversity is not just race, ethnicity, and gender. It's how did you get to the table? What is your process for problem solving? Because the cyber bad guys are very diverse. Therefore, it's going to take a fully formed table to get to the right solution to the problems and the threats that our schools, our infrastructure, our governments, our banking system is really being exposed to. So I will get off my soapbox and just say that if you are in the Commonwealth of Virginia, you've got a great advocate with Crystal. If you are not located in the Commonwealth, sorry, I can't help you. No, I'm kidding. Contact Debbie, contact myself. We are happy to walk you through the process because we do work nationally and we can help work through that process for you.
Absolutely. We'll go back to that contacts page if you need it. All of us are more than happy to help you. Bridget and I are both registered apprenticeship intermediaries. And what we do, we're great big connectors. We connect and connect all day long. And that's what we do. We are in the middle trying to help and expand apprenticeship in information technology and cybersecurity throughout the country. And we're trying to increase equity so that we have diverse, equitable, inclusive, and accessible apprenticeship programs. So thank you very much for everyone attending.